Okay, so in the digital marketing industry, especially the advertising community, there's a lot of BS out there. There's a lot of misinformation. And for a lot of the time, especially if you're a beginner, it can be friggin' confusing of what steps to actually take and what actually works and what doesn't. It can be hard to know who to trust. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to be showing you the 3 biggest mistakes to avoid when you're starting off running Facebook ads. Because I cannot tell you the amount of times that someone has either DM'd me on Twitter, sent me an email, or I've checked a client's account that we're about to take on, and I can see them making a million different basic errors inside of the ads manager, and it's just losing the money every single day. So go through this video, learn the 3 mistakes, and make sure that you avoid them in all of your campaigns moving forward. So the first biggest mistake I see is having multiple target interests inside of one ad set. So what people will do is, if they are targeting digital marketers, let's say, for example, they will create a campaign, they'll create an ad set, and within the ad set, they'll be targeting ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, and they'll be accumulating all these different interests within one ad set. Very bad idea. I guarantee if you are doing this, you are losing money. So you can even stop this video, go to your ads manager right now, and turn those campaigns off. Because here's why it doesn't work. You see, if you run that campaign, and let's say it works, and it gets you leads, and it gets you sales. Or let's say that it doesn't work, and it doesn't get you leads, and it doesn't get you sales. Either way, you don't know why. You don't know why it worked, and you don't know why it didn't work, because you are mixing the interests together. So for example, if you mix 4 or 5 interests, you could have, say, maybe 10 million people in that audience. Now, if you run that to those 5 different interests, then if you do get sales, you don't know which part of that audience is actually profitable. Is it the first interest, the second, the third, or the fourth? You don't know. And it's the same if it doesn't work as well. If that audience doesn't work with those 4 or 5 people paired together, then maybe actually interest number 5 was profitable. But the issue is because you mix them all together in one ad set, maybe Facebook only really served the ad to interests 1 and 2. And therefore you look at that and think, oh, those 5 interests are profitable because I've already tested them. But the fact is that you didn't test them all equally. You just put them into one big audience together and you didn't give them a fair chance. And the whole point of testing and becoming a marketer is to use data-driven decisions to guide your marketing campaigns. And in order for us to do that, we need to test different elements of the marketing campaign to see what works and what doesn't. So don't ever mix different interests within one ad set. Every single ad set should have one interest and one interest only. The whole ad set should be identical, and that's country, age range, gender, placements, all that sort of good stuff. They should be identical when you're testing to begin with. And the only difference between ad set number 1 all the way through to ad set number 10 or 20 or 30, depending on your budget, the only difference is that it's got a different target interest. That's way when you launch the campaign and you test it for 3 to 7 days or however long you want to test for, you can very clearly see which target interest is working and which one isn't. So therefore, moving forward, you can make a data-driven decision, an educated decision on what interest is working. So then you can then continue to take those audiences that are working, put them into your scaling campaigns, and continue to test and optimize and scale moving forward. Now, the second biggest mistake that I see is people starting out and they are just running straight from the off CBO campaigns and not ABO. So CBO stands for Campaign Budget Optimization, and ABO is Ad Set Budget Optimization. Now, what most people do is that they'll set the budget at the CBO level, the Campaign Budget Optimization level, which means you could have one campaign, and within that campaign, you could have, say, 10 ad sets, but you would set the budget here. So at the campaign level, so say, for example, you set the budget at $100 a day, so Facebook will then determine how that $100 is distributed between the 10 different ad sets. And this is a big issue because what usually happens is out of, say, the 10 ad sets that you have in that CBO, out of the $100, Facebook could give one of the ad sets $80, another one $10, and then you've got the other 8 ad sets that get like $1 to $2 each. And again, this is a big problem because as marketers, especially when you're starting out, your job is to be able to test different audiences, different creatives, different setups, and see which one works for your funnel and your offer. And if you are letting Facebook just distribute your budget between all the different ad sets, then you aren't testing each one fairly. So let's say, for example, you have ad set number 1. Out of the $100 a day, Facebook said you can have $80 of that budget. Then yes, ad set number 1 has been tested pretty well because it spent $80 in one day. But what about ad set number 9 or ad set number 7 that only got allocated like 50 cents out of the $100? That is not a fair test. And that audience actually could be super profitable, but you haven't given it enough budget to test properly. And I know what some people will tell you, and they are wrong, but they will say that, oh, Facebook knows best, the algorithm knows best. Let Facebook decide which ad set should get the most budget. Facebook knows more than you. Well, that is incorrect, especially in the beginning. If you're starting with a new ad account, Facebook hasn't got enough data to be making the data-driven decision of this audience isn't going to work, this audience is. So in the beginning specifically, or even I still do it now with very seasoned ad accounts, I still, in the beginning, when we are testing a new offer, a new campaign, I will still set the budget at the ad set level. And say, for example, I would have the campaign, and within the campaign, I will have 10 different ad sets. But I'm setting the budget at the ad set level. So instead of spending $100 at the campaign level, I will set each ad set with a $10 per day budget. So I'm still spending the same, which is the $100, but I'm distributing it fairly between each of the ad sets. So let's say I had 10 ad sets and they were all testing a different interest within each ad set. So 10 different interests. Now what we can do is let the campaign run for a few days, and each of those interests, those audiences, will be tested fairly. And again, after the testing period, you can then review the data and be like, okay, cool. Now, these 6 out of the 10 worked pretty well. The other 4 didn't work very well. And then you would make a note of which interests or which audiences didn't work very well, and you probably wouldn't test them again. And then you can take the 6 that did work, you can test more that are like those interests or those audiences, or if they're doing well enough, you can maybe put them into a scaling campaign. Now, the third biggest mistake that I see is when people are actually creating their ad copy. Now, the easiest thing to do, and it's because we have been brainwashed to think that funnel hacking is the best way to create a profitable campaign. But what most beginners do is that they will look at a competitor. They will look at a big name in their space and they will say, I'm going to go and model what their ads look like. So they might go and pick a celebrity in their particular industry or their particular niche. They will look at what ads they're using. They will look at the copy. They will look at the messaging in the video, and they will just model it and expect to get great results. But this is a big, big problem. And I guarantee if your whole ad strategy is based around looking at what the big competitors in your space are doing and modeling them, then your ads aren't going to work. Because here's the truth. If you are a beginner and you're running ads for the first time and you're just building your brand, you are playing a completely different game to the big names in your space. Now, it kind of sucks, but it's the truth that the people with the big names and the credibility and the years of experience in your space, they don't really need to have that good ads to make money. Because the thing is, because they are well known, because they're a mini celebrity in their niche, they can rely on their brand, their name, their credibility, their social proof. They can rely on all these intangibles to get the conversion and get people interested. You, if you are a beginner, you don't have any of those things. So your ad copy has to be really frigging good, and it has to be a lot better than the big names in your space. So that's why if you're copying someone in your industry who is maybe very successful, then that's why your ads aren't working, even though you will get frustrated and you look at the competitors and be like, well, it's working for them, why isn't it working for me? And again, just remember, they are playing a completely different game. So instead of modeling the big people in your industry, what you want to do is try and model who are playing a similar game to you. So you want to look for people in your industry who are maybe not as well known, who aren't this big mini celebrity, and they're actually relying purely on the copywriting and the ads, not the name and not a brand, to generate revenue. You need to find people who are doing well in your space. Maybe they're not multimillionaires, or maybe they're not the biggest names, but you know that they're making money and you know that the marketing is working. Maybe they're only a year or two ahead of you in the business journey. And the key is to model what they are doing, because again, they're playing more of a similar game to you. And I guarantee if you model someone who is just like moderately successful in your space, but they're moderately successful without having a big brand or a big name, I guarantee that you modeling their ads is going to be better than you modeling someone who is like a mini celebrity. So again, after reviewing hundreds of different ad accounts, those are the 3 biggest mistakes that I see beginners make when they're starting to launch Facebook ad campaign. So if that's you and you've been committing any of these mistakes, make sure you go back, change it inside the ad account now, follow the solutions that I went through inside this video, and I guarantee that you'll see better results.